Imagine a world on the brink of change. The year is 1914. Europe, a continent of empires and ambition, teeters on the edge. Decades of tensions and rivalries fuel a brewing storm. This storm breaks, plunging the world into World War I. The Great War shatters the old world order, a global conflict drawing in nations from every corner. Millions clash in brutal struggle for dominance. By 1918, the world lay in ruins. The Great War reshaped the 20th century and beyond. To understand the outbreak of World War I, one must first untangle the complex web of factors that led to its eruption. Four key elements played a crucial role: alliances, imperialism, militarism, and nationalism. Europe in the early 20th century was a network of alliances. These agreements, meant to deter aggression, ironically helped pave the path to war. One spark could ignite the entire continent. Imperialism, the race for colonies, fueled rivalry between European powers. The scramble for Africa and other territories created friction, turning competition into animosity. Militarism, the glorification of military strength, further escalated tensions. Nations engaged in an arms race, building up their armies and navies to unprecedented levels. This created a climate of fear and suspicion, where any perceived threat could be met with overwhelming force. Nationalism, the intense pride in one's nation, created a sense of superiority and distrust among the European powers. Each country believed in its own exceptionalism, fueling a dangerous sense of competition and rivalry. These four forces, intertwined and mutually reinforcing, created a powder keg in Europe. All that was needed was a spark to ignite it. On a sunny June day in 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie visited Sarajevo. Their visit aimed to bolster Austro-Hungarian influence. Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist, seized his opportunity. Princip, a member of the Black Hand, saw the Archduke as a symbol of repression. He fired 2 shots, fatally wounding the Archduke and his wife. The assassination sent shockwaves across Europe. It was a catalyst for the outbreak of war. Austria-Hungary, backed by its powerful ally Germany, declared war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. The alliance system, designed to deter aggression, instead acted as a tripwire, dragging one nation after another into the conflict. Russia, bound by treaty to protect Serbia, mobilized its army. Germany, fearing a two-front war, declared war on Russia and its ally France. Germany's invasion of neutral Belgium, a violation of international law, drew Great Britain into the conflict. Within weeks, the major powers of Europe were at war. The world watched in disbelief as the continent descended into chaos. The Great War had begun. This is Section 5, A World at War, Global Conflict and Total War. The war that began in the heart of Europe quickly spread, engulfing nations across the globe. The British Empire, with its vast colonial possessions, drew in troops from India, Canada, Australia, and Africa. The Ottoman Empire joined the Central Powers, opening up fronts in the Middle East and the Caucasus. Japan, allied with Britain, seized German colonies in Asia and the Pacific. World War I wasn't just a clash of armies, it was a total war, consuming the resources and populations of entire nations. Governments mobilized their economies for war production. Factories retooled to produce weapons and munitions. Propaganda campaigns sought to rally public support and demonize the enemy. The line between civilian and combatant blurred as entire societies were mobilized for the war effort. Women took on new roles in factories and shipyards, filling the void left by men sent to the front. Rationing became commonplace as governments directed resources towards the war effort. Section 6, Trench Warfare, a new kind of hell. The Western Front, a 400-mile stretch of trenches that ran from the English Channel to Switzerland, became synonymous with the brutality of World War I. Here, millions of soldiers faced off in a deadly stalemate, locked in a war of attrition that would claim the lives of an entire generation. Trench warfare was a new and terrifying form of combat. Soldiers huddled in muddy, rat-infested trenches, constantly exposed to enemy fire, disease, and the elements. Attacks were often met with withering machine gun fire and artillery barrages. Gains were measured in yards, often at an unimaginable cost in human life. New technologies of war developed to break the stalemate only added to the horror. Poison gas, first used by the Germans in 1915, became a terrifying weapon capable of inflicting agonizing death on a massive scale. Tanks, introduced by the British in 1916, offered a glimmer of hope for breaking the stalemate, but their impact was limited in the early stages of their deployment. Section 7. Facts from the front. Glimpses into the Great War. The sheer scale and brutality of World War I are difficult to comprehend. Here are a few facts that offer a glimpse into the realities of the conflict. Estimated casualties. Over 40 million casualties, including an estimated 20 million deaths. New technologies, machine guns, poison gas, tanks, airplanes and submarines were all used for the first time in World War I. The Christmas truce. In December 1914, unofficial ceasefires broke out along parts of the Western Front, with soldiers from both sides exchanging gifts, singing carols and even playing football. Animals in war. Millions of animals were used in World War I, including horses, mules, dogs and even pigeons for transport, communication and support roles. Section 8. The Legacy of the Great War. A world forever changed. The world that emerged from World War I was vastly different from the one that had existed just 4 years earlier. The war had shattered empires, redrawn borders, and left an enduring legacy of trauma and instability. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war but sowed the seeds for future conflicts. Germany, blamed for the war, was forced to accept harsh reparations, payments and territorial concessions. The Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman and Russian empires were dissolved, replaced by a patchwork of new nations with their own national aspirations and grievances. The war also had a profound impact on the social and cultural landscape. The loss of an entire generation of young men led to a sense of disillusionment and a loss of faith in traditional values. The horrors of trench warfare left an indelible mark on the psyche of those who had experienced it, inspiring a new wave of anti-war literature and art. Section 9. Remembering the past, shaping the future. World War I's enduring relevance. World War I may seem like a distant event, confined to the history books. However, its legacy continues to shape the world we live in today. The conflicts and tensions that led to the war, nationalism, imperialism, the struggle for power and resources, remain relevant in the 21st century. By studying World War I, we gain a deeper understanding of the forces that can drive nations to conflict. We learn about the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression, the importance of diplomacy, and the need for international cooperation to prevent future tragedies. The lessons of World War I are as relevant today as they were a century ago. By remembering the past, we can work towards a more peaceful and just future for all.